Give me a thumbs up. Natalie, give me a little visual there. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Give me a visual. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Good to go. Awesome. Good morning. Welcome to, boy, wow, what a weekend. Rainy, gloomy. I don't know about you, but I got a lot of wood to cut, and this doesn't help me get out in the woods. So let's do a little, everybody kind of weigh in, introduce yourselves. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in today. I want to welcome Don, our board member at G2 Academy. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Fowles. It's awesome to have you. So why don't you start? You just introduce yourself a little bit. Our students, our community partners may not know you.
Well, thank you, Phil, for inviting me, and this is certainly a passion of mine. I realize the potential that we have available to us here, and we've got already a lot of success at G2S, but this just expands our market of what we will be able to do. And basically, we're going to be setting the trends for people to follow into the future. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And Mr. Quinlan, you have done a fantastic job. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir, for your support. And it's been fun. And, you know, you're going to get a chance to see, well, I'm going to send out your YouTube channel too. A lot of our students are after our recorded sessions, are viewing them, because I know I don't view them after the second time. So we'll share. We had a great Friday. Before we go around the horn a little bit, Paula Weeb from Beirut, Lebanon was with us, Don, and I think David's on with us, Natalie, Logan, good to see you. And it's also good for Logan, who's just a few miles from Beirut, Lebanon, to kind of share a little bit. So it doesn't get any better than that. So welcome, Mr. Fowles. Welcome to our daily check-in, or check-up from the neck up. Good to have you with us. Logan, check in, buddy. Tell us what's going on over in Cairo, Egypt. Logan, you got the floor.
Well, I definitely don't need to cut any wood. All I need is AC, so.
I love it. What's the temperature there, buddy?
Today it's about 80, right? About 80. Yeah, about 80.
I see the air conditioning unit over your shoulder there. That probably is getting a workout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, tell me, what do you do on the weekends? Or I know the weekends are a little different in Egyptian culture. Can you explain? Like Friday is a special day, and they look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday a little different back at home. Could you explain to our viewers, our listeners today, a little bit about a weekend in Cairo, Egypt, what that looks like?
Friday is Saturday, so it's kind of like, you know, everyone's off of school, and usually at like Mondays is Sunday or Mondays, you know. So instead of Garfield saying I hate Mondays, he'd be saying I hate Sundays, you know.
Okay. Now, you told me the other day that Friday is the day of prayer. Is that correct for the Muslim nation of Egypt? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could you explain that for us who don't know what that is, the day of prayer?
So is it every hour?
It's not the day of prayer, it's just one prayer and the after.
Yeah, it's just like one prayer in the afternoon, but usually, you know, we get a prayer in the morning.
There's 5 prayers every day.
5 prayers every day, yeah.
That's awesome. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
And yeah, and on Friday there's the prayer with a speech. So it's almost the same as all the other days, but there's a speech on Fridays. Yeah.
One of the things that we're going to be talking about too in our social studies unit and our projects coming up, I know the 7th grade social studies curriculum is a study of world religions too, Logan. And I thought this, you know, we'll do a deeper dive into it much later throughout the year, okay? Thanks for reporting in, Logan. We'll talk here in just a little bit too. I got some of your information from WhatsApp this morning. Thank you. Or afternoon from you. So we'll chat after we log off here today, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good show. Natalie, weigh in. How was your weekend? Give us some highlights, Natalie.
Good. I slept.
You slept. All right. Don't tell me you did schoolwork all weekend, right?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Give me one good highlight. What was the best highlight of your weekend, Saturday, Sunday?
Since I'm an artist, my mom got me some new markers, so that was kind of good.
Awesome. Do you happen to have your sketch pad close by?
Uh-uh.
I know. I'd like you tomorrow, if you would, just as we open up our touch point, show us some of the work you've been working on, could you?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to have you show that. So welcome, Natalie. Good to see you. And we'll also go over some game plan for our virtual local students here today in just a moment. David, check in, buddy. I know David had a basketball tournament or basketball games down in Grand Rapids. David, how was your weekend?
We won both games on Saturday, and then I went goose hunting yesterday.
Okay, just a little. I got to turn my volume up. Tell me again. Say it one more time, buddy.
I had 2 basketball games on Saturday, and then I went goose hunting yesterday.
Wow. So hunting, basketball, you won them both, right?
Yep.
What kind of teams come into? I know you have. David plays on a traveling basketball team down in Grand Rapids. What kind of teams do you play from what parts of the state of Michigan?
In tournaments, we sometimes play like Illinois teams and that. And like last weekend, we played a West Ottawa team and a Hudsonville team.
Awesome. So you get some locals, but in tournaments, you get some out-of-staters, right?
Yeah.
Hey, David, for those rest of the listeners this morning, or you, Logan, in the afternoon, I had an awesome chance to hang out with David for a couple hours out in his, I'm going to call it the compound, baby. It was a beautiful afternoon. David and his dad, we drove around looking at, through his property, looking at some different ecosystems, a way of integrating some projects coming up. David, I'm going to tell you, I really enjoyed that, and thanks for sharing your family and your property with me. And so David and I are going to be working on developing some project-based learning experiences from his property. So that was awesome. David, tell us a little bit about the room you're in. Now that I was at the house and I get it over your shoulder, you're in a special room. Could you tell everybody what that room is about?
It's a memory room. We put like our deer and our beavers, otters, and fox, the animals we kill that have a memory to them. We usually mount them and then put them in here.
And over your shoulder, David lives along on Hanson Road on the Lincoln River, right, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those over your shoulder were found right there, or trapped, correct?
Yep.
Right there in the Lincoln River?
Yeah.
Wow, they were huge. So it was cool to go along the Kubota tractor with you and your dad. God, we spotted a couple salmon, pretty big size, swimming upstream, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, so I love how you and your family have defined that as your memory room. That's pretty cool. Not the trophy room, right? The memory room.
Memory.
That's awesome. What a great tradition to have in your family to instill the fact of these are great memories, and when people come in, they're great conversations. I was really connected with that, enjoyed my experience here Friday, so thank you, David.
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, everybody, there's a couple things I want to share. Before we thank you all for jumping in at our morning meeting here today, I just want to go to our agenda and remind everybody. I think we all can see the agenda of the game plan today. I forgot to change this. Not so much thank you for attending yesterday, but thank you for Friday guest speaker. We are working on another guest speaker from Maine in 2 weeks from now, October 19th. Every other Friday we'll have a guest speaker from around the world, around the country, or even here in our backyard, Mr. Fowler. So maybe we'll have you as one of our guest speakers coming up, if you don't mind. Love to have people share wisdom, insight, and education, learning, or just things that they're passionate about. So we'll have our guest speaker feature every other week. So thanks for those who attended. I want to just share my message today with all of you, not just the 3 or 4 of us here in attendance live, but for those who will be watching YouTube later. The importance of empathy. And it's my final point today. So many of us, and not only education, but in life, we see the world through only one lens. And I'm guilty of this. My lack of empathy or seeing the world through someone else's eyes can cause conflicts in my life, and they have. When you're married to someone like I have for 30-some years, or even being a father of my daughters, sometimes I haven't seen the world through their eyes to a point where I understand. Doesn't mean I have to agree. So that is one of the hardest components or skills to really, truly develop, not just in schools, but in your lifetime. It's the importance of empathy. And there is a such thing as having too much empathy. And we'll talk about that. But I'd like to share a thought here for 3 minutes. And then I want all of you to weigh in on this. So don't go anywhere. I want you to share not only your insights about what empathy is as you watch this film, this video clip, but I also want you to share why is it important to you, and maybe share an example. As I just shared an example where I may have failed with my wife or my children. For example, my 30-year-old daughter wrote me a beautiful text the other day. It was for my birthday, and she says, "Dad, I love you." And she went through all her stages of life and where dads had to be tough dads, right, Don? Those days where we had just the loving, nurturing, and for our students listening, sometimes it doesn't seem to be fair or understanding, and she was more empathetic than I've ever seen her, meaning she started to see the world through someone else's eyes, her father's eyes, and saw something much greater. That is your challenge today. So as we watch this, I want you to think, I want all of you to weigh in on an example of empathy itself and maybe how that has impacted your life, good or bad. It's called The Importance of Empathy. I'd like you to lean in and make sure your volume's up, make sure you can hear this. And if you cannot hear this, you can see what I can see, give me a kind of an X sign like, hey, I cannot hear, or maybe just I can't hear if you're unable to listen to hear. Here we go.
The importance of empathy. We all live in our own version of reality. A reality that is limited by our senses, our temperament, and our own experiences. It is the only reality we will ever truly know. But it is crucial to our personal development, our relationships, and to society itself that we make the effort to try and experience other people's realities as well. This is done through empathy. Simply stated, empathy is an active attempt to understand another person's perspective, their emotions, and in essence, their reality. We are social animals, and our ability to communicate and understand each other's emotional states is key to maintaining our relationships. So it is little wonder that the ability to empathize is hardwired directly into our brains. One area that assists in this process is the right supramarginal gyrus, which helps us to distinguish our own emotional state from that of another person, and plays a key role in our ability to observe and assess what other people are experiencing. Studies from Neuron Science Journal suggest that we have systems of mirror neurons in our brains that cause us to mimic the actions of others. That is why when we see someone yawn, we will often yawn in reply. And when we observe someone experiencing joy or
I have to pause that. Has that happened to anyone before? Someone yawns, you yawn. Come on, raise your hand if that has. I mean, isn't that true, though? I always used to tell my students over the years, yawning is contagious. Well, there's the science behind it. And really what it is helping you connect not only an emotional state, but to actually mirror someone else's emotion. Pretty cool stuff.
We experience the same sensation to a certain extent, but these reactions are primarily driven by subconscious reflexes. In order to be truly empathic, you have to actively think beyond yourself and your own concerns. You can develop this empathic skill by practicing some simple habits. Be observant of others. We tend to spend the majority of our day dwelling on ourselves, caught up in our own daily routines and digital distractions. But taking the time to observe others around you is a good first step in developing your empathy. Watch and wonder. Try to focus on the person's state of being rather than categorizing or labeling them. Ask yourself, what kind of day are they having? How are they feeling? Challenge yourself to genuinely care about their well-being. Curiosity about others is the first step to expanding your empathy. Use active listening. During a conversation, especially a heated one, most people formulate their response before the other person even finishes their statement. This form of communication is more verbal combat than an exchange of ideas or opinions. Avoid this reflex by slowing down. Rather than rushing to reply, take a moment to consider the other person's statement. Ask follow-up questions to better understand what the speaker intended. Try to understand their emotional state and the deeper motivations behind their statement. What life experiences led them to their current worldview? Remember, you don't need to share someone's opinion in order to understand it and acknowledge it. And listening will help inform and expand your own opinion. Open up. Learning more about other people's experiences is a key element to seeing the world through someone else's eyes. But it is also important to open up about your own feelings and experiences. Empathy is a two-way street that at best is built upon mutual understanding. Through a combination of uncovering the deeper motivations of someone else's position and expressing our own underlying concerns, we often discover a shared commonality, even with those who hold different beliefs than ours. Through the practice of keeping an open mind, empathy helps us challenge prejudice, find commonality, and expand our moral universe. Without it, we are apt to label people outside our circle as the other, the problem, or the enemy. These labels draw lines in the sand that prevent us from moving forward or growing. It cuts us off from the realization that the human experience is a shared experience. We have much more in common than we think and are really just seeing small variations of the same reality.
Oh,
The important
that's quite a bit in just a short 3 minutes to throw at you. But the importance of empathy, I want all of you to weigh in a little bit. There are 3 factors that he mentioned about being observant, active listening, and opening up. You know, and I want you all right now, if you would, just think about a moment in your life where not so much where you failed, because we all can do that, but maybe where you observed that, either with another person, you don't have to use their name, or someone yourself. And I'll go first to kind of model for you, but I'd like each of you to share a moment if you would. My moment was a fellow colleague math teacher who was completely, we were so different, we call it polar opposite students, where she was very structured, organized, and all that she delivered and taught. I was more of like student driven, let the kids decide with some structure. She misunderstood my world, I misunderstood her world. We were two different. In essence, it created a strained relationship as teachers and colleagues. And I failed. I was failing to be empathetic towards her needs until a moment in your life, and all of you in this room here have had that type of relationship where maybe you didn't see things the same, and suddenly when I started to listen to her, I never forget the day I just sat, arms were folded, my arms were open, and just listened to her thoughts and came to an understanding, both of us, and ended up being one of my closest colleagues, best friends in my teaching profession. So, but it was work on my part, and it was failure on my part. And I suddenly became well aware of empathy and understanding her world. Logan, Natalie, David, Mr. Fallis, who would like to weigh in? Who'd like to go next? Or just an example where you witnessed or saw it. Don't make me pick somebody. Come on. David. I'm going to pick on David. Come on, David. Give us an example of empathetic, maybe that you observed, or maybe it failed or went well, or on a basketball court, hunting. Weigh in, David. Go ahead.
I'm still thinking.
All right. You're going to come right back to it because Natalie's up. Natalie, you're muted. Could you unmute yourself a little bit? Natalie, where did you see it? Now, you've been in my classroom for last year, and I'm sure we've seen it in our day-to-day school. So why don't you weigh in? Where did you see empathy or lack of it in other people, or maybe even yourself?
In both of our old schools, I saw a lack of empathy because that's where most of the bullying came in and stuff, especially on my part.
Natalie, you're spot on. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, cut you off.
No, it's okay. I finished. I just couldn't figure out what to say.
No, you did a great job. You know, when we talk about bullying, I mean, most of us don't really understand each other's world. That student who bullied could be maybe a bullied himself, or maybe having issues that we don't realize, or even goes both ways too. So thank you for sharing that. Logan, you're up next.
My friends not realizing that I have to come here and be with my family.
Yeah, very good example, Logan, where not understanding that you had to go 6,000 miles away, and hey, what's Logan doing? But it's about family. That's a great example, Logan. Thank you. Mr. Fallis, how about you?
I would like to say that I was reading a book one time, and in that book, it kind of had a puzzle, and the book was, and the puzzle was, what are the needs, what are the objectives, and what are the challenges? And I took that and I applied it to, with my wife, I asked her a question. What are the needs that you see? What are the challenges that you see? And what are the objectives that she's seeing? And I think we picked out a particular building. And it was funny how the two of us, even though we've been married for 52 years, we seen that building totally different. She's seen the building as a structure that could be doing something, and I seen it as a facility that needed the help of people. So it was a great exercise, but the needs and challenges and objectives we different minds and different lenses see them totally different.
Mr. Fowles, that is a wonderful challenge to people who think they really know each other, right? And just to show that you really don't, you see things differently.
Yep.
And I know it's really, thank you for adding that. I'm writing that down because I'm going to go home tonight and have my wife and I will have a challenge. Those two factors, I love it. But I know at G2 Academy here, it's huge as far as our professional development, constantly building a team and looking at each other and our strengths and challenges and needs. And oh, wow. So thank you for weighing in on that. That's a great challenge. Doesn't matter how old you are, right? And how long you've been married or how long you know somebody.
You bet.
That's a great one, students, to challenge those people who are your closest friends too. You know, just take a point, a challenge, try to stay away from politics. But anyway, take a concept and say, how do you see that? What do you, when you look at this object or you look at this, like Mr. Fowles said, a building, what do you see? That's an excellent opportunity to see where everybody's at. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing that with my students too. Thank you. David, come on, let's finish strong, buddy. Tell us an example or just how empathy or what it means to you.
Kind of in our basketball games, sometimes we're beating a team so bad, we didn't really show empathy to the other team because we started like making fun of them and that because we were beating them so bad. So.
Hey, David, that's a beautiful example too. Have you found yourself, I don't want to say caught yourself, but have you found yourself like having empathy while you're much superior than another team?
Yeah, we have.
But yet we get pulled in that peer pressure too, just having fun, right?
Yeah.
Not realizing how demoralizing it could be. But you know what? And I know it's a fine line, isn't it, David, as you're a competitor and you're competing on the field and you want to give your 100% all the time, right? But, you know, and that's a tough one. That's a tough call too. But to recognize it is a gift. And for you to recognize it, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for weighing in today. Empathy, I hope we can walk away with maybe, Don, I love that challenge, and maybe we'll challenge everybody to pick an object, an idea, a concept, and maybe give 3 characteristics. Don, yours were needs, challenges, and was it objective?
Objectives, yes.
Objectives. So I like that. I wrote that down, so I can't read my own writing. It's a great challenge to have, everybody. So our students leaning in live here today, challenge somebody to those 3 components. Like David, out in the woods, maybe just look out that scenery off that memory window, right? And ask your mom, what does she see? Maybe you see something different than she does, right? You know, that's a great one. And Natalie, do that with your mom. You know, pick something in the house or some concept, one of your drawings, and say, look at those 3 things and tell me what you see. And see how different they are of one another. That's cool. Logan, my goodness. You know, when next time you're out and along the streets of Cairo, Egypt, you know, whoever you're with, maybe you're driving by the Sphinx or the Pyramids of Giza or just maybe a shop, ask somebody with you, your mom, and say, what do you see? And then share what you see. Now, what a great way of practicing empathy. So without further ado, I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in today. I know we all got work to do, and I also encourage you to stay connected. Also, make sure it's your responsibility, and mine too, though, two-way communication is huge to make online learning work. Our mantra has always been hashtag stay connected, trust the plan. And I'll be seeing all of you. Logan, I'm gonna call you back, or we'll WhatsApp you later on today, and we'll try to connect visually, okay? Natalie, we hope to see you be in on Wednesday. Awesome. And David, I think we decided on Friday. Is that correct, David?
Yeah, I think.
Friday afternoon is what I'll text Dad on that. Mr. Fowles, it's been a pleasure having you with us here today. You're welcome every day. I'll send out I'd like to chat with you also. If you want to stay on the line, we're done here, Mr. Fowles. And I'll give you access to this on a daily. I don't send out emails every day. I do it on Sunday night to send it out. And then I'll show you how we can get in if you want to join us. All right?
Okay.
Everybody else log off. Mr. Fowles, you don't mind staying on for a little bit. Have a great day, everybody. Stay connected. All right. Hey, Don.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for joining us here today. Appreciate it. Let me, I record these, so I'll just stop the recording session.